our lecture, our speech today, the presentation about leadership and about a special topic in leadership we hadn't yet in our lecture. It is a topic about authenticity and authentic leadership, and it has a little bit a connection to leading with emotional intelligence, with leading authentic factors. And so we want to discuss in this speech today some aspects of authenticity and authentic leadership. But first, I want to have some questions. So, first I have some questions to you here, and we want to develop an authentic self. An authentic self, and if you see here, we have it in this writing assignment for the students and for you then today. Please reflect on emotions and desires you think which are associated with leadership, and then you can complete a statement as a leader, and then there come some ideas for you. As a leader, I hope, fear, joy, I'm grateful, I'm sad, I'm mostly in touch with myself when you can complete it. I am fulfilled when you can complete it. So I will give you 5 minutes to think about these quotas, and then I'm very excited to hear your messages and your answers. Time. Now I'm very excited to hear what are your thoughts and your authentic self estimation or evaluation. Now, let's start with you. As a leader, what is your choice?
As a leader, I fear not putting the need of others enough before mine.
Can you repeat it?
I fear not putting enough I don't know which order, not putting the needs of the followers before mine, enough.
Okay, very interesting. You want to do a lot of positive things, but you are fearing maybe it's not enough. Okay, very interesting idea. And what are the other ideas, for example, from you?
As a leader, I'm really grateful for every failure that I face.
Okay. Follower relationship.
Failure.
Failure. Okay. Okay, yes, okay. Thank you. And what is yours?
As a leader, I feel one of the ability to achieve the goal set, also lead my team to success.
Okay. Achievement of goals, success. What is your idea?
As a leader, I am sad, not being calm enough to listen to my members.
Oh, this is very interesting. So listening, because listening is a very important part of team leading and efficient leadership. And what is yours?
As a leader, I'm grateful to share and to be shared.
You want to share, but what do you want to share? Which topics you want to share, for example?
Good work.
Okay, good work.
Yes, I don't want to just be in have decisions and ask people doing. I want to.
Okay, you want to be the same level and you want to share their ideas, their visions, or something like that. Okay, so these are very interesting statements for your authentic self ideas your dreams. I want to bring some, before we go to the problems maybe in authentic leadership, we want to have some ideas what is authentic leadership, and I want to give you some thoughts about authentic leadership and what is the description of this authentic leadership and what is the focus of authentic leadership in the leadership situation. The focus on whether leadership is genuine or real. This is the focus of authentic leadership in a very short way, but there are some more definitions. What is authentic leadership? And we have an intrapersonal definition, an intrapersonal definition. That means authentic leadership defined based or is defined on the leader's self-concept. My authentic self, on the leader's self-concept, and how these self-concepts are related to the leader's actions. And therefore, in a definition, in a scientific definition, authentic leadership is that you are exhibiting genuine leadership and that you are leading from conviction, absolutely important, leading from conviction, your convictions, that your leadership is original, that your leadership is not a copy, and that your leadership is based on action and on the values of your action and your values. This is the intrapersonal definition. We have another definition of authentic leadership, and the other one is as developmental definition. Developmental definition, and they say authentic leadership is triggered by your life events, by your life experience, is influenced from your career experience, and it is something what you can learn rather than a fixed trait. Like we have heard some lectures before, there has been a trait, a great man theory with inborn traits. Authentic leadership is the total opposite idea of leadership, because the message is you can develop these behaviors in leadership. This is the developmental definition of leadership. And then we have an interpersonal definition of authentic leadership. First interpersonal, developmental, and now we have an interpersonal definition of leadership. And what could be the interpersonal definition of leadership? If you think on your answers, if you think on your authentic self and your answers, what could be the interpersonal definition of leadership? What is leadership in the sense of interpersonal action? What is leadership?
The relationship with followers?
Yes. Relationship with followers. It is relational, authentic leadership, and it is created, that's very important, it is created by the leaders and the followers together. It's not a one-way leading or one-way communication, it is a two-way communication, and it is a vice versa communication. And therefore, one of you has said it, listening is absolutely important. It's like so much important as removing obstacles in leadership. So listening is very important. And when do you think leaders can create a change? If you are thinking authentic leadership, leaders create changes. And change creating is a very important task. So leaders create change only when what happened? Leaders create change only if one factor is happening. If you think on the leader-follower relational process, two ways, vice versa.
When the followers are not happy anymore, like just have a problem with the situation and ask the follower to evolve, ask the leader to make a change.
Yes, I will define it in this way. The leader create change only when their messages, their leader's messages accepted, committed by the followers. Then you can create a real change, because change could be could have some problems in the organization, because change is not for every employee a very good thing maybe. So he or she maybe could be fired or something. So change is a very diplomatic and sensitive topic. And therefore authentic leadership is a big factor. If you want to lead change and create change, you need acceptance of your followers, in the vice versa, two-way communication. So then, in the research, there has been a researcher called Valumva, and Valumva has researched and find that there are four components for authentic leadership are important, which forms authentic leadership. Four components. And I will bring these four components and I will discuss it with you. And then we come to a totally new part of authentic leadership. It is a very, very critical part, and some researchers from Harvard have researched about the very critical way of authentic leadership. That's totally new in research at our times in the moment. But first of all, we want to have the four components which forms authentic leadership. Component number one is a psychological factor, because authentic leadership, emotional intelligence leadership, is not only business administration or organizational theory, it is medicine, psychology, neuromedicine. All these factors are together forming the research, the interdisciplinary research field about the psychodynamic leadership approaches. And authentic leadership is one of the psychodynamic leadership approaches, and emotional intelligence is another one, and transformational leadership is another one, which are depending, but they are strictly divided and they have different messages. But first component of authentic leadership is self-awareness. Self-awareness. What is self-awareness? This is the process in which individuals understand themselves. Myself, my authentic self. First you have to understand yourself, and then you can lead. In former approaches, this was not a question. In former approaches we had other questions, but the newest question is your own psychology. Who are you? It's very interesting. It's adventure, in the sense of leading as a personal adventure. Self-awareness, process in which the individual understand themselves. These are the personal insights you have from yourself. The personal insights, for example, your strengths, really, honestly, truly, your strengths, honestly, your weakness, and honestly, your emotions, and honestly, your own goals. These are self-awareness. It's a part also from emotional intelligence. Researcher was Daniel Goleman. Another one, it is the internalized moral perspective. Internalized moral perspective. What is meaning? Meaning is using internal moral standards and values rather than outside pressures. There's another one. This is the factor, a component is the balanced processing. Balanced processing. What is balanced processing? It's the ability, the skill to analyze information objectively, not subjectively, objectively, and explore other people's opinions. Explore and listen other people's opinions. Very exactly. Balanced processing. Open, and that's absolutely important. Being as a leader in this approach, open about own perspective and objective in considering others' opinions. This is also a two-way communication, emotional two-way communication, emotional vice versa communication. Balanced processing. So we have self-awareness, number one. Internalized moral perspective, number two. Balanced processing, number three. And then we have a relational transparency, number four. Relational transparency means being open and honest in presenting one's true self to others. And that's very important for leading, for authentic leading. Share core feelings and motives. You said it, share information, sharing. You can share information on a formal way, job description or something. You can share information with reward, exchange, transactional, but you can also share information transformational. That's more psychodynamic. And that works because it is going in the other's person, in the heart. And that's the way to convince, for example. So, relational transparency. Then there are some other factors that influence also authentic leadership. It is a positive psychological capacity, not a negative psychological capacity. Being positive. In the emotional intelligence theory, we have the so-called positive emotional attractors and we have the negative emotional attractors. And these attractors have a big influence on your daily leadership success. So, positive psychological capacities are hope, optimism. If you have no optimism and you have no hope, you should go abroad because that is all negative for you if you see it not with a hope and optimistic view. And moral reasoning. This is the capacity to make, and that's very important. Don't forget it. This is the capacity to make ethical decisions. Being ethical. Ethical decisions about issues of right or wrong, and good or bad. Moral reasoning. And this moral reasoning enables the leader to promote justice and achieve what is right for a community, for example. And the last one, as a factor that influences your authentic leadership style, is your personal, critical life events. Everybody of us has critical life events which makes you thinking about yourself, about environment, about your future, about your weaknesses, your strengths. So these critical life events could be, for example, your life events in your career path. Sometimes your career path goes up, sometimes it is even, and sometimes it can go down. But going down, and if you are optimistic and if you are positive, then maybe you can find the turnaround. But if you are a negative person and a pessimistic person, then the way down is the way down. So, if you say it as an athlete, and I say it as an athlete, never quit. Never give up. If you go to West Point, I have been in West Point in the physical education department. It's one of the best departments I have seen in the world. And if we are going there to boxing, because they have a big boxing department, because it's important for West Point and the Army, you will see everywhere, never quit. So these are some psychological tools which leaders or organizations can also work, and these are critical life events you can bring in a positive turnaround for you. So now we have an idea what is authentic leadership. Authentic leadership and authenticity leading people has become in the last years, or in the last time, has become the so-called gold standard for leadership. This is also the title of our speech here today. Authenticity has become the gold standard for leadership. But, and this
I have a question regarding to the honesty. For example, a leader should be honest, but he or she also has to distinguish between professional life and personal life, right? So for example, in a situation that the leader face a critical life event, and why he also has to handle his project as a leader. So what should an authentic leader do in that situation? To be honest, that he admits he has problem with his life at that moment, and on the other hand, the project he has to handle with his members. So what should he do?
yes, I think it's very easy. Honesty means that you have to be honest first to yourself, that there is a problem, maybe I am the problem of the problem. And then others, not others in the first sense. I ask first, if there is a problem, maybe I am the source of the problem, and if I am honest to me, I can change it. And if I change it in myself, then you have another energy for the project. And then you can be very honest to others. There are two ways. First, honest to yourself. Are you the source? Because normally a lot of people say, this was the failure of this man, or this was the failure of others. Not from me, not from me, not from me. But this is wrong, this is wrong. You will be unbalanced. You will be unbalanced. And then you have negative energy. So I recommend, from my leadership experience, and this is a very long leadership experience, be honest to yourself. In the first step, be honest to yourself, and then you can realize new energy for a project. And other people will accept your honesty behavior. And then other people will follow you because you are authentic. You are original and you are not a copy. And if you are permanently thinking, how can I say the right sentence? How can I say that others like it? At one point, they will see you are a liar. And if they see you are a liar, then you lose your followership. Okay? Satisfied? So, therefore, I said a simplistic understanding of what it means, authentic, can hinder your growth and limit your impact. This is the other view of authentic leadership. Now I want to go into some details. We had heard before what is authentic leadership, being true to yourself, making value-based choices, and maintaining strict coherence between what you feel and what you say or what you do. This is what we discussed before. So now, I want to try to bring a view about authentic leadership where you see some problems in this authentic or this authenticity, because there are problems behind these characteristics, and the newest research is asking for these problems. So, if you have the question, authentic leadership means being true to yourself. Being true to yourself. Then some researchers are asking, which self? Which self? We have many selves, depending on the different roles that we play in our personal and our business life. So the question is, which the newest research is asking, which self? First question, how can you be true to a future self that is still uncertain and unformed? So this is the question if you are thinking of being true to yourself. Then we had another question. It was making value-based choices. This is a definition, authentic leadership. But some researchers are asking of problems behind these behavior. For example, when we or you as a leader move into bigger roles, greater hierarchy, more responsibility, bigger roles, then values that were shaped by past experiences formerly can lead us astray in the wrong direction. New challenges, new roles have their own effects on your development. So, when we view authenticity as an unwavering sense of self, we struggle for one point. We are struggling for one point. And the point is we are struggling to take on new challenges and to take on new, bigger roles. And the reality is that people learn, thrive, develop, and change in new roles. finding in this changing process who these people are as a leader through these new experiences. This is the next critical point for authenticity in the older definition. There are some reasons. There are some reasons why leaders are struggling with authenticity. Why? Authentic or authentic behavior refers to any work of art that is an original, I mentioned it before, and that is not a copy. In the framework of leadership, it has other meanings, maybe problematic meanings. That means being permanently transparent, disclosing every single thought and feeling you have is what? It is both unrealistic and it is both risky. In the sense of new research and findings about authenticity in the professional leadership behavior. Reasons why leaders are struggling with authenticity could also be in global, if you think of multicultural, in global business environments, many of us work in multicultural teams. That's the future. Multicultural teams is the future. Cultural differences and norms ask for different leaders and different leadership behaviors. Identities, leaders' identities are always on a display in today's very connected, globalized world or globalized economies. How we present ourselves, not only as an executive, has become an important aspect of leadership. And so, there's a problem, a big problem, and it is the challenge for the leader of the future. Some leaders tend to express what they really think, what they really feel, even when it runs counter to the situational demands. Very authentic, very authentic leadership. And there's a problem arising. And that's the absolutely most or very important problem we have to think about. The arising problem in this case is these leaders may stick too long with comfortable behavior that prevents them from meeting the new requirements. Instead of evolving their style as they gain insight and experience. What will I say? A deeper seated issue and advice for the leader is finding a right mix. It is finding the right mix of what? Finding the right mix of distance on the one hand, closeness on the other side, in an unfamiliar situation. So, there is a researcher from Stanford University, California, Palo Alto. The name is Deborah Grünfeld, and Deborah Grünfeld describes this dilemma or this paradox as managing the tension between authority and approachability. Authority and approachability, Deborah Grünfeld. And getting the balance between your true self and the real situation. That means that being authentic does not mean that you can be held up to the light and all people can see right through you. That's not being authentic. And my last message, whatever the situation is, taking charge in unfamiliar territory, selling your ideas and yourself, or processing negative feedback, finding authentic ways of being effective is more difficult in a multicultural leading situation or environment. And then your leadership or your leadership identity can and should change each time. Can and should change each time you move on to a bigger and better thing and challenge. And that means, and that's a very important leadership task and leadership message. Find the way out of your comfort zones. Don't stay in the comfort zones too long. Then you will not realize any success, any change. Stay not too long in your comfort zones, and the challenge of the leader from the 21st century is managing going out, managing change, and take on the challenge every day going out of your comfort zone. Questions? Any questions? Then thank you very much for attending this short speech about authenticity, and I wish you a great day today in our GFA Career Fair and Company Dialogue, and visit our website so you have the overview about company presentations for the next weeks, and I'm very happy to see you all again in my next lecture on the next Monday. So thank you very much, have a great day.